The Iliad, a poem composed nearly 3,000 years ago, completely humiliates sword art online, and it's not even trying to compete. One is a foundational work of Western storytelling that has survived millennia because it understands human nature, violence, pride, and consequence. The other is sword art online, a modern power fantasy that collapses the second you ask it to mean anything. The Iliad doesn't rely on gimmicks. It doesn't need flashy concepts or fake stakes to feel intense. Its characters are driven by rage, honor, fear, and ego, and every decision they make leads to irreversible loss. People die and stay dead. Glory comes with a body count. Pride destroys lives. The story doesn't protect its heroes from the cost of their actions. Sword Art Online pretends to be about death and danger, but it's terrified of consequences. It wants the aesthetic of tragedy without committing to it. It wants to feel epic without earning it. The Iliad actually is epic, not because of scale, but because it understands that greatness and suffering are inseparable. This video isn't about nostalgia or preference. It's about why a story from the Bronze Age still feels more honest, more brutal, and more meaningful than a modern series that has every advantage of technology and still says nothing. By the end of this video, the question won't be how the Iliad is better than Sword Art Online. It'll be how Sword Art Online manages to feel so shallow standing next to something composed thousands of years ago.
The characters in the Iliad are on a completely different level than anything in Sword Art Online, and the gap is honestly embarrassing for Sword Art Online. One is filled with complex, flawed human beings driven by ego, fear, love, and rage. The other is populated by flat avatars designed to orbit an unstoppable protagonist. In the Iliad, characters are ruled by their weaknesses. Achilles isn't admirable because he's strong. He's fascinating because he's furious, prideful, and emotionally reckless. His rage gets people killed. His withdrawal from battle has massive consequences. When he finally returns to fight, it's not triumphant. It's tragic. His strength doesn't save him from grief. It deepens it. Hector is another example of real character writing. He's brave, honorable, and loyal, but he's also trapped. He knows Troy is doomed, and he fights anyway. Not because he'll win, but because it's his duty. He loves his family, fears death, and still walks toward it. That tension between responsibility and fear makes him feel painfully human. Even secondary characters matter. Agamemnon's arrogance fuels the entire conflict. Patroclus' compassion leads to his death. Priam's grief strips him of pride when he begs Achilles for his son's body. These people don't exist to glorify one hero. They exist to collide with each other, clash in values, and suffer the results. Sword Art Online doesn't do this. Kirito doesn't struggle with pride in a meaningful way. He doesn't lose because of his flaws. He doesn't cause irreversible harm through bad decisions. He just wins. His personality rarely drives the plot. The plot bends around him to make sure he stays untouchable. The supporting characters in Sword Art Online are even worse. Most of them exist to admire Kirito, love him, or validate him. They don't challenge his worldview. They don't force growth. When something bad happens to them, it's usually just there to give Kirito another emotional boost before he goes back to winning. Again, in the Iliad, no one is safe. No one is protected by the story. Strength doesn't guarantee survival, and honor doesn't guarantee justice. Characters suffer because of who they are, not in spite of it. Their personalities shape the tragedy instead of being shielded from it. That's why the characters in the Iliad still matter thousands of years later. They feel real because they're allowed to be ugly, selfish, brave, and broken all at once. Sword Art Online refuses to let its characters be truly flawed, and as a result, they never feel truly alive. Achilles is a much better character than Kirito because Achilles is written as a complete human being, not a fantasy fulfillment device. He is powerful, yes, but that power is a problem, not a reward. His strength does not make his life easier. It makes everything worse. Achilles is defined by contradiction. He is the greatest warrior alive, yet he is emotionally fragile, prideful, and self-destructive. His rage feels earned because it comes from deep humiliation and loss, not from the story needing him to look cool. When he withdraws from battle, people die because of his choice. The story never lets him escape responsibility for that. His flaws actively shape the world around him. Kirito has strength without consequence. He is skilled, admired, and always validated by the narrative. His mistakes rarely cost him anything lasting. When he fails, the story bends to protect his image. That does not create depth. It removes it. Achilles also grows in a painful and believable way. His arc is not about becoming stronger. He is already strong. His journey is about learning too late what his rage has cost him. By the time he understands the value of compassion and restraint, the damage is already done. His growth does not save him. It only makes his fate more tragic. Kirito's growth is shallow and mostly cosmetic. He gains new abilities, new roles, and new praise, but he does not fundamentally change. He starts the story exceptional and stays exceptional. His worldview is rarely challenged, and when it is, the challenge disappears quickly so he can continue being the center of everything. Achilles feels real because the story allows him to be ugly. He is cruel. He is petty. He is capable of horrifying violence. The narrative does not excuse this behavior. It shows it, confronts it, and forces the audience to sit with the consequences. You are not asked to admire Achilles blindly. You are asked to understand him. Kirito is written to be admired at all times. Other characters exist to praise him, rely on him, or fall in love with him. The story rarely allows him to be wrong in a way that truly matters. That kind of writing creates a hollow character who exists to fulfill fantasy rather than explore humanity. Most importantly, Achilles is defined by mortality. He knows he will die young, and that knowledge poisons every choice he makes. His power cannot save him. His skill cannot change his fate. That tension gives every action weight. Kirito exists in a world where death is inconsistent and often reversible. When mortality is optional, character depth disappears. Fear becomes pretend. Courage becomes performance. Achilles endures because he represents something uncomfortable and honest about being human. Strength does not equal wisdom. Rage feels good, but destroys everything. Glory costs more than it gives. Kirito represents comfort. Be special, be strong, and the world will reward you. That idea may be appealing, but it is shallow, and shallow characters do not last. That is why Achilles is still discussed thousands of years later, while Kirito already feels like a product of his time. One is tragic, flawed, and human. The other is safe, polished, and forgettable. The Iliad has better writing than Sword Art Online because it actually understands what stories are for. It isn't trying to flatter the audience or protect its heroes. It's trying to tell the truth about human behavior, even when that truth is ugly, uncomfortable, or tragic. The writing in the Iliad is built on cause and consequence. Every major event grows naturally out of character flaw. Achilles' pride leads to withdrawal. That withdrawal leads to death. That death leads to rage. Nothing is random and nothing is reversed for convenience. When a mistake is made, the cost is permanent. That kind of discipline is the backbone of strong writing. The language is purposeful. Repetition isn't laziness, it's emphasis. Imagery isn't there to look cool. It's there to reinforce themes of mortality, brutality, and fate. Violence is described in a way that makes it feel horrific, not empowering. Glory and death are constantly placed side by side, forcing the audience to confront the price of heroism. Sword Art Online doesn't have that discipline. Its writing is impulsive and unfocused. It introduces big ideas and then abandons them. Death is treated as shocking one moment and meaningless the next. Arcs begin and end without payoff. Consequences are erased the second they become inconvenient. The writing bends to serve the protagonist instead of letting the story unfold honestly. The Iliad trusts its audience. It doesn't explain everything. It lets silence, grief, and inevitability speak for themselves. Sword Art Online does the opposite. It over-explains emotions, spells out themes, and still somehow says very little. It confuses volume with depth and spectacle with meaning. Another key difference is restraint. The Iliad knows when to pull back. It doesn't need constant escalation. Tension comes from inevitability, not surprise twists. Sword Art Online constantly escalates power levels and stakes, but because nothing sticks, the escalation becomes meaningless noise. Most importantly, the Iliad is not afraid to make its story unpleasant. Heroes are cruel. Leaders are selfish. Death is unfair. Victory is hollow. That honesty is why it endures. Sword Art Online is afraid to discomfort its audience or challenge its protagonist, so it wraps everything in fantasy padding and calls it depth. That's why the Iliad's writing still holds power thousands of years later. It's focused, disciplined, and brutally honest. Sword Art Online's writing can't survive basic scrutiny because it refuses to commit to its own ideas. One was written to confront human nature. The other was written to escape it. The reason the Iliad is thematically and morally superior to Sword Art Online is simple. The Iliad actually has something to say about life, while Sword Art Online mostly wants to keep its audience comfortable and entertained without challenging them. At its core, the Iliad is about the cost of pride, rage, and the pursuit of glory. Achilles is not rewarded for his anger. He is ruined by it. His strength does not make him right, and his status does not protect him from loss. The story constantly asks whether glory is worth the human cost, and it never gives an easy or comforting answer. Every victory is paired with grief. Every act of heroism pushes the tragedy further. Sword Art Online avoids that question completely. It pretends to be about survival, but survival rarely requires meaningful sacrifice. Characters die, but their deaths do not permanently change the world or seriously damage the hero. Pain fades. Trauma barely exists. The show flirts with dark ideas and then backs away the moment things might get uncomfortable. Suffering is treated like a prop, so the main character can look impressive afterward. Mortality is another major theme of the Iliad. Everyone dies, and everyone knows it. Even the strongest warriors are painfully aware that their lives are short. That knowledge shapes every choice they make. Hector fights knowing he will likely die, but he does it anyway because honor demands it. Achilles chooses a short life filled with glory over a long and quiet one. And the story makes sure you feel how terrifying and tragic that choice really is. Sword Art Online weakens mortality at every opportunity. Death is inconsistent, reversible, or only important when the plot feels like pretending it matters. When death stops being permanent, morality collapses with it. There is no real courage in risking your life when the story keeps finding ways to undo the risk. The show wants the emotional weight of death without committing to its consequences. The Iliad also takes responsibility seriously. Leaders cause suffering whether they mean to or not. Agamemnon's pride destroys armies. Achilles' refusal to fight gets innocent people killed. Power does not excuse failure, and admiration does not erase blame. Every decision has consequences, and the story refuses to let its characters off the hook. Sword Art Online mostly dodges responsibility. When things go wrong, it is usually blamed on faceless villains, broken systems, or bad luck rather than the hero's own flaws. The main character rarely causes harm through his choices, and when he does, the story rushes to excuse him. That is not moral complexity. That is moral avoidance. Most importantly, the Iliad is honest. It does not comfort the audience. It does not promise fairness, balance, or happy endings. It shows that people can be brave and cruel at the same time, and that the world does not reward virtue in neat, satisfying ways. Its message is that being human means suffering, and no amount of strength can escape that truth. Sword Art Online's message is that being special solves everything. If you're talented enough or chosen enough, the world bends around you. That is not a moral lesson. It is escapism pretending to be depth. That is why the Iliad has lasted for thousands of years. Its themes are harsh, uncomfortable, and timeless. It forces the audience to confront pride, death, grief, and responsibility directly. Sword Art Online looks away whenever those ideas get too real. One challenges you to grow up. The other reassures you that you never have to. The action in the Iliad is better than Sword Art Online because it actually means something. Every fight has weight, consequence, and purpose. Combat is not there just to look flashy or make the hero seem unstoppable. It exists to show character, fate, and the brutal cost of violence. In the Iliad, action is slow, heavy, and terrifying. Battles are exhausting. Warriors get wounded, panic, retreat, and die horribly. When two fighters clash, you feel the danger because either one can fall at any moment. Spears miss. Armor fails. One wrong move ends a life. The action never feels safe, and that tension makes every fight gripping. Sword Art Online treats action like a power fantasy checklist. Fights are clean, flashy, and predictable. You almost always know who is going to win the moment the battle starts. The main character overwhelms enemies through raw stats, special abilities, or sudden power boosts. There is no suspense because the outcome is never truly in doubt. In the Iliad, action reveals personality. Achilles fights like a force of nature, but his violence is terrifying, not cool. He desecrates bodies. He loses control. His combat style reflects his rage and grief. Hector fights defensively and strategically, driven by duty rather than ego. Even minor warriors get moments that show fear, bravery, or desperation. Every clash tells you something about who these people are. Sword Art Online's action rarely reveals character. Most fights boil down to the protagonist activating a stronger mode or pulling out a hidden ability. Enemies exist to be defeated, not understood. Combat does not deepen personalities. It just reinforces how overpowered the hero is. The scale of action in the Iliad also feels real. Battles involve chaos, confusion, and momentum shifts. Armies surge forward, break apart, regroup, and collapse. Victory is never clean. Even winning sides suffer massive losses. Action scenes feel like uncontrolled disasters rather than choreographed spectacles. Sword Art Online's action feels artificial and game-like in the worst way. Battles are governed by visible systems and mechanics that strip away tension. Health bars, skills, and levels turn combat into math problems instead of life or death struggles. When combat follows rules that protect the hero, fear disappears. Most importantly, violence in the Iliad has consequences. Every kill matters. Every death ripples outward, creating grief, rage, and retaliation. Action drives the story forward and deepens the tragedy. The fighting never feels pointless or disposable. In Sword Art Online, action is disposable. Enemies fall, scenes move on, and very little changes. Violence exists for excitement, not meaning. Once the fight ends, the story resets like nothing truly happened. That is why the action in the Iliad is superior. It is brutal, exhausting, and emotionally charged. It respects violence enough to show its cost. Sword Art Online treats action like entertainment filler, flashy noise meant to distract rather than challenge. One makes combat feel human. The other makes it feel hollow. The reason the Iliad has lasted for thousands of years while Sword Art Online will be forgotten is because one is built on timeless human truth and the other is built on temporary hype. The Iliad endures because it deals with emotions and conflicts that never go away. Rage, pride, grief, honor, fear, and the cost of violence are things every generation understands. The story does not rely on trends, technology, or genre gimmicks. It speaks directly to what it means to be human, and that message stays relevant no matter how much the world changes. Sword Art Online is tied completely to its era. It depends on specific anime tropes, gaming culture references, and power fantasy storytelling that already feels dated. What once seemed exciting now feels shallow and repetitive. As trends move on, there is nothing underneath to keep people coming back. The Iliad has also survived because it refuses to comfort its audience. It challenges readers. It forces them to confront uncomfortable truths about war, leadership, ego, and mortality. Stories that challenge people stay alive because they demand thought and reflection. Sword Art Online avoids challenge. It reassures its audience that being special solves everything. It avoids consequences, moral complexity, and lasting loss. That kind of storytelling ages badly because it does not grow with the audience. Once the novelty fades, there is nothing left to engage with. Another reason the Iliad lasts is its flexibility. It can be retold, reinterpreted, and adapted across cultures and eras. Every generation finds something new in it because the characters are flawed, layered, and open to analysis. The story invites debate and reinterpretation. Sword Art Online does not invite reinterpretation. Its characters and themes are shallow and rigid. There is little to explore beyond the surface-level power fantasy. Without depth, there is nothing for future audiences to rediscover. The Iliad also shaped storytelling itself. Its influence can be traced through literature, film, and modern epics. It helped define how stories about heroes, war, and tragedy are told. Its legacy feeds other stories. Sword Art Online does not shape storytelling. It follows trends rather than setting them. When a genre moves on, it will be left behind as a relic of a specific moment in pop culture. Most importantly, the Iliad respects its audience. It assumes they can handle complexity, ambiguity, and discomfort. That respect is why people keep returning to it. Sword Art Online underestimates its audience. It simplifies conflict, excuses its hero, and avoids hard questions. Stories that underestimate their audience rarely last. That is why the Iliad is still read, studied, and adapted thousands of years later. Sword Art Online may be remembered by a niche fan base, but it will not endure. One is built to last. The other is built to trend, and trends always fade. When it comes to adaptations of the Iliad, the 2004 film Troy already proves why this story works better on screen than Sword Art Online ever has. Troy is not perfect, but even at its weakest, it still understands weight, scale, and consequence in a way Sword Art Online never even attempts. Troy takes the world of the Iliad and grounds it in physical reality. Battles feel exhausting. Armor is heavy. Shields break. Warriors get tired, injured, and overwhelmed. When characters fight, you believe they could die at any second. That alone puts it miles ahead of Sword Art Online, where combat feels like a flashy demo reel with zero danger. The action in Troy serves character and story. Achilles is terrifying, not because he has magic powers or broken abilities, but because of his speed, skill, and sheer brutality. Hector fights with discipline and restraint, which makes his clashes with Achilles feel tragic instead of cool. Every duel has emotional stakes, not just spectacle. Sword Art Online cannot say the same. Its action exists almost entirely to glorify its protagonist. Fights are built around showing how unbeatable he is, not around tension or drama. You are never worried about the outcome. The story tells you who will win before the sword is even drawn. Troy also understands restraint. It does not rely on endless visual noise to stay engaging. The choreography is clear, readable, and grounded. When violence happens, it is sudden and final. Death does not feel like a temporary setback. It feels permanent, which gives the action meaning. Sword Art Online relies on excess instead of impact. Bright effects, exaggerated movements, and constant power escalation replace real tension. When everything is over the top, nothing feels important. The action becomes empty spectacle instead of storytelling. Even thematically, Troy respects its source more than Sword Art Online respects its own premise. The movie focuses on honor, pride, fate, and the cost of war. Characters fight because they are trapped by reputation, duty, or ego. No one walks away clean. Victory feels hollow. Sword Art Online avoids those consequences. Its action rarely leads to lasting loss or moral reckoning. Battles end, the hero wins, and the story moves on without reflection. Violence does not scar the characters or reshape the world in meaningful ways. The fact that a grounded historical epic like Troy can feel more intense, emotional, and dangerous than a show built entirely around sword fighting says everything. Troy treats combat as tragic and costly. Sword Art Online treats it like wish fulfillment. That is why even a flawed Iliad adaptation like Troy stands above Sword Art Online. One understands that action should carry weight and consequences. The other just wants to look cool while pretending stakes exist. The acting in Troy is better than Sword Art Online because it is grounded, physical, and human. The performances sell the weight of the story in a way Sword Art Online never comes close to, largely because Troy asks its actors to embody real emotion, while Sword Art Online relies on exaggerated voices and shallow characterization. In Troy, the actors communicate character through body language, silence, and restraint. You can see exhaustion in the way warriors stand after battle. You can feel tension in the pauses before a duel. Rage, fear, pride, and grief are all expressed without constant shouting or over-explaining. The performances trust the audience to read emotion instead of spelling everything out. Achilles feels dangerous not because the script says he is strong, but because the performance makes him unpredictable. His calm moments feel just as threatening as his violent ones. Hector feels noble and weary at the same time. You believe he is a man carrying the weight of a city on his shoulders. Even side characters feel like real people with limited time left, not disposable background noise. Sword Art Online's acting, by comparison, feels artificial and flat. Emotions are exaggerated instead of earned. Characters shout their feelings constantly because the writing does not trust subtlety. Anger, sadness, and determination all sound the same, just louder. There is no texture to the performances, only volume. Another problem is that Sword Art Online's acting is trapped by its protagonist worship. Supporting characters exist to react to the main character, praise him, or worry about him. That limits performances to one emotional note. There is no room for conflicting feelings or moral struggle because the story refuses to challenge its hero. In Troy, actors are allowed to be flawed and vulnerable. Characters hesitate. They doubt themselves. They make mistakes and live with the consequences. Those moments of uncertainty are what make the performances feel real. You are watching people, not power fantasies. The difference also comes down to stakes. Troy's actors perform as if death is permanent, because it is. Every goodbye feels final. Every battle could be the last. That sense of mortality sharpens every scene. In Sword Art Online, death is inconsistent and often reversible, so performances lack urgency. When nothing truly lasts, emotions stop feeling real. Troy treats acting as storytelling. Sword Art Online treats acting as delivery. One demands emotional honesty. The other settles for noise. That is why the acting in Troy stands above Sword Art Online. It feels human, restrained, and weighted with consequence. Sword Art Online's performances feel synthetic, overplayed, and hollow, perfectly matching a story that never earns the emotions it wants you to feel. The directing in Troy is better than Sword Art Online because it understands clarity, restraint, and purpose. Every choice in Troy is made to serve story, character, and theme, while Sword Art Online's direction mostly exists to hype moments without substance. Troy's direction gives scenes room to breathe. The camera lingers on faces, on silence, on the aftermath of violence. It lets tension build naturally instead of forcing it with constant movement or noise. When a fight is about to happen, the build-up matters just as much as the clash itself. That patience creates weight. Sword Art Online does the opposite. Its direction rushes from moment to moment, afraid to sit in discomfort. Scenes are packed with reaction shots, dramatic zooms, and exaggerated motion. Instead of letting emotion develop, the show constantly pushes the audience to feel something, which ends up feeling shallow and artificial. Troy also excels at spatial clarity. You always know where characters are, how close they are to danger, and what is at stake in a scene. Battles are staged, so you can track movement and momentum. You understand how chaos spreads and why certain moments turn the tide. The direction respects the audience's ability to follow complex action. Sword Art Online's direction often sacrifices clarity for spectacle. Fights blur together with speed lines, effects, and rapid cuts. The goal is to overwhelm rather than immerse. When action becomes visual noise, it loses impact. You stop caring about what is happening because it feels detached from reality. Another strength of Troy's direction is tone control. The film maintains a consistent sense of dread and inevitability. Even quieter scenes feel tense because the director never lets you forget what is coming. War hangs over every conversation. Death feels close, even in moments of calm. Sword Art Online struggles with tone. It jumps between comedy, romance, horror, and tragedy without control. Serious moments are undercut by fan service or sudden power boosts. The direction does not know when to hold back, so nothing lands with the weight it should. Troy's direction also trusts performance. The camera does not constantly explain emotions. It lets actors carry scenes through expression and presence. This restraint gives the story dignity and emotional credibility. Sword Art Online does not trust its audience or its characters. The direction constantly reinforces emotions with music cues, visual exaggeration, and repetitive framing. Instead of deepening scenes, it flattens them. Ultimately, Troy is directed with intention. Every scene feels like it has a reason to exist. Sword Art Online feels directed by obligation, hitting genre beats without understanding why they matter. That is why Troy's directing stands above Sword Art Online. One uses direction to deepen story and theme. The other uses it to disguise how little substance there actually is. The action in Troy is better than Sword Art Online because it feels real, dangerous, and earned. Every fight in Troy is built around physical effort, fear, and consequence, while Sword Art Online turns combat into empty spectacle with no real tension. In Troy, action is grounded in human limits. Fighters get tired. Movements are heavy. Blows hurt. Armor slows people down instead of turning them into superheroes. When swords clash, it feels like a desperate struggle, not a flashy performance. You believe that a single mistake can end a life. Sword Art Online ignores physical reality completely. Characters move like they weigh nothing, swing weapons without effort, and survive impossible situations because the story demands it. Combat becomes weightless, and when nothing has weight, nothing feels dangerous. The choreography in Troy is clear and purposeful. Every strike, block, and step tells you something about the character. Achilles fights with speed and brutality, overwhelming opponents before they can react. Hector fights with discipline and defense, showing his sense of duty and restraint. Their styles clash in a way that makes their duel unforgettable. Sword Art Online's fights rarely communicate character. Most battles are reduced to ability spam and power scaling. Characters win because they unlock a stronger mode or activate a special skill, not because of strategy or personality. The action tells you nothing new about who these people are. Troy also understands build-up. Fights are not constant. The movie lets tension grow through stares, silence, and anticipation. When violence finally erupts, it feels explosive and terrifying because the story has earned it. Sword Art Online throws action at the audience constantly. Because fights are everywhere, none of them feel special. The lack of restraint drains the action of impact. Most importantly, action in Troy has consequences. Death is final. Loss changes characters. Violence leaves scars, both physical and emotional. Every kill matters, and the story never lets you forget that. In Sword Art Online, action resets. Enemies fall, levels increase, and the hero moves on untouched. The world does not feel changed by violence, which makes the action feel pointless. Troy treats combat as tragic and costly. Sword Art Online treats it like entertainment filler. One respects the seriousness of violence. The other uses it as background noise. That is why the action in Troy stands far above Sword Art Online. It is brutal, tense, and meaningful. Sword Art Online's action is flashy, safe, and hollow, designed to impress for a moment and be forgotten just as quickly. The scope and scale of Troy are better than Sword Art Online because Troy actually feels like a world shaped by war, history, and consequence. Everything in the film reinforces the idea that this conflict matters beyond a single character, while Sword Art Online shrinks its world down to revolve almost entirely around its protagonist. Troy presents a massive conflict involving entire cities, armies, and generations of people. The war affects everyone. Soldiers, kings, families, and civilians all feel the impact. You see thousands of warriors moving together, camps stretching across the land, ships filling the shore. The scale makes it clear that this is not just a personal story. It is a cultural and historical disaster unfolding in real time. Sword Art Online pretends to have a big world, but it never feels large. Despite being set in a massive virtual space, the story constantly narrows its focus back to the same small group of characters and the same locations. The world exists only when the main character is present. If he is not involved, nothing feels like it is happening. In Troy, individual actions ripple outward. One decision can shift the course of the entire war. Achilles staying out of battle weakens an army. Hector's death changes the fate of a city. The story constantly reminds you that personal choices have massive consequences. Sword Art Online rarely allows that kind of ripple effect. When the protagonist wins a fight, the world resets around him. The broader setting does not evolve in meaningful ways. The scale feels artificial because the story refuses to let events permanently change the world. Troy also uses physical space to sell scale. Wide shots of armies, city walls, and battlefields make the conflict feel overwhelming. You can sense how small individuals are compared to the war surrounding them. The environment itself becomes part of the story. Sword Art Online relies on abstract environments that feel interchangeable. Locations lack identity and history. Because the world is virtual and consequence-free, it never feels truly inhabited. It looks big on paper, but feels empty in practice. Most importantly, Troy understands that scale is emotional as well as visual. The fall of a city means death, slavery, and the end of a way of life. The story never lets you forget what is at stake for everyone involved. Sword Art Online keeps its stakes personal and shallow. The world never feels like it could truly collapse. Even when danger is implied, the story reassures the audience that things will work out. That is why Troy's scope and scale are superior. It makes the conflict feel unavoidable, tragic, and enormous. Sword Art Online feels small, safe, and centered on wish fulfillment. One makes the world feel bigger than its characters. The other makes the world exist only to serve one. When you put everything together, the difference couldn't be clearer. The Iliad operates on a level Sword Art Online never even reaches. One is built on human truth, consequence, and meaning. The other is built on comfort, power fantasy, and temporary excitement. The Iliad delivers characters who are flawed, angry, proud, fearful, and painfully human. Its action is brutal and meaningful. Its violence has consequences. Its themes challenge the audience to think about pride, mortality, responsibility, and the cost of glory. Its scope feels massive because the world does not revolve around one person. Every choice ripples outward and reshapes everything. Its adaptations like Troy prove that this story still works because the core is strong. The acting feels grounded. The directing is intentional and restrained. The action feels dangerous and final. The scale makes you feel how small individuals are against war and fate. Even when imperfect, these adaptations still carry weight and seriousness. Sword Art Online fails on every one of those levels. Its characters exist to worship the protagonist. Its action is flashy but hollow. Its themes are shallow and avoid real consequences. Death does not stick. Growth does not last. The world bends to the hero instead of challenging him. Everything is designed to reassure rather than confront. That is why the Iliad has survived for thousands of years. It does not rely on trends, genre tricks, or wish fulfillment. It tells the truth about humanity, and that truth never gets old. Sword Art Online is a product of its moment. When a novelty fades, there is nothing underneath to support it. No depth to revisit. No meaning to uncover. No reason for future generations to care. One story demands respect because it earns it. The other demands attention and forgets to earn meaning. The Iliad endures because it challenges people. Sword Art Online will fade because it never does. The Iliad has withstood the test of time because it was never designed to chase popularity or comfort its audience. It was built to confront people with truths that do not expire. Rage, pride, grief, honor, and death are not trends. They are permanent parts of the human experience. As long as humans struggle with ego, violence, and loss, the Iliad will remain relevant. What keeps the Iliad alive is that it does not offer easy answers. It does not reward its heroes with happiness. It does not pretend that strength fixes moral failure. It shows that even the greatest warrior can be emotionally weak, self-destructive, and wrong. It shows that glory and honor often come at an unbearable cost. Stories that tell uncomfortable truths do not age out. They deepen with time. Each generation reads the Iliad differently because the characters are complex enough to support endless interpretation. Achilles can be seen as a hero, a villain, a victim, or a warning. Hector can be seen as noble, doomed, or tragically human. The story invites debate, reflection, and disagreement. That openness is why it survives. It grows with the audience instead of outgrowing them. Sword Art Online does not have that foundation. It is tied to a specific cultural moment, a specific audience, and a specific fantasy. Its appeal relies on trends, tropes, and wish fulfillment that already feel dated. Once those trends fade, the story has nothing solid underneath to support it. Sword Art Online also avoids the kinds of truths that give stories longevity. It softens death. It excuses the hero. It removes lasting consequences. That makes it easy to watch, but it also makes it forgettable. Stories that refuse to challenge their audience rarely survive once the initial excitement is gone. The Iliad demands something from its audience. Attention, thought, emotional honesty. It does not ask to be liked. It asks to be understood. That is why it continues to be read, studied, adapted, and argued over thousands of years later. Sword Art Online asks to be enjoyed in the moment. Once the moment passes, so does its relevance. That is the difference. One was built to endure. The other was built to trend. And only one of those ever lasts. Additionally, it's worth looking at how mythology continues to inspire genuinely interesting movies and shows that understand why these stories matter in the first place. The best myth-based adaptations don't just borrow names and aesthetics. They tap into the same timeless ideas that made the original stories endure. Movies like Clash of the Titans and its remake may be uneven, but they still understand scale, fate, and divine cruelty. Gods are not friendly mentors or background flavor. They are forces that ruin lives, punish pride, and manipulate humans for their own ends. Even when the execution stumbles, the ambition is there. 300 takes Greek history and mythic exaggeration and turns it into something stylized and operatic. It understands that myth is not about realism, but about exaggerating values like honor, sacrifice, and defiance. The movie commits fully to its tone, which makes it memorable even if it is controversial. Immortals goes even further into mythic imagery. Its story is messy, but visually it treats the gods and titans as something alien and terrifying. It at least tries to capture the idea that mythological beings should feel larger than humanity, not relatable or comforting. On the television side, shows like Rome, while historical rather than mythological, succeed because they treat ancient people as complex, flawed humans shaped by brutal systems. That same approach is why mythology works when it's done right. It respects the harshness of the world these stories came from. Even something like Percy Jackson, aimed at a younger audience, works better than most modern power fantasies because it understands consequence and legacy. The gods are selfish, unreliable, and dangerous. Heroes are not special because they are perfect, but because they are forced to grow up fast in a world that does not care about them. What all of these have in common is respect for myth as tragedy, not wish fulfillment. They understand that mythology is about gods who do not love humans, heroes who suffer for their choices, and worlds that do not bend to make anyone feel special. That is why mythology keeps producing interesting stories. It is built on conflict that cannot be solved easily, on moral questions without clean answers, and on characters who pay a price for greatness. When modern stories forget that, they lose what makes myth powerful. When they remember it, they tap into something that has already proven it can last for thousands of years.
Blood of Zeus is packed with hidden details and Easter eggs that only true fans of Greek mythology and the show will appreciate. From subtle nods to famous myths to secret references tucked away in the animation, there's so much more to discover beneath the surface. This show does a fantastic job of blending epic action, stunning visuals, and deep mythological lore, creating a fresh take on the gods, heroes, and monsters we all know. It brings these ancient stories to life in a way that's both thrilling and captivating, while also adding modern twists that make it feel new and exciting. In this video, we're diving deep into all the coolest Easter eggs you might have missed. Whether it's a reference to a forgotten myth, a clever callback to another piece of pop culture, or an Easter egg hidden in the background, Blood of Zeus is loaded with little details that make the show even more fun to watch. So grab your shield and sword because we're about to uncover some jaw-dropping reveals. The show begins with a shot of the stars, which is exactly how the 2010 movie Clash of the Titans started. That movie is also based on Greek mythology. The mother is named Electra. In Greek mythology, Electra is the daughter of King Agamemnon and Queen Clytemnestra, known for her role in the aftermath of the Trojan War. Zeus convinced two giants to switch sides. These are Briars and Argesh. Briars is based on the Centimanes. The design for Argesh has a very spot-on resemblance to the Cyclops from Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, most notably the single horn and the goat lower half. A queen gives birth to two sons from different fathers. There are several examples in Greek mythology of queens who were said to have given birth to two sons from different fathers. One of the most famous examples is Queen Alcmene of Thebes. According to myth, Zeus, the king of the gods, disguised himself as Amphitryon and seduced Alcmene, resulting in the conception of Heracles. However, on the same night, the real Amphitryon returned from battle and also lay with Alcmene, leading to the birth of Iphicles. The seal of Corinth is two winged horses rearing up, meeting in the middle. In Greek mythology, Corinth, an ancient Greek city-state located on the isthmus between the Peloponnese and mainland Greece. While there isn't a specific seal attributed to Corinth in Greek mythology, the city was associated with various legendary figures and events, including the hero Bellerophon and his winged horse Pegasus, who famously slew the Chimera, a fearsome monster with the body of a lion, the head of a goat, and the tail of a serpent. Periander was a significant figure in ancient Greek history and mythology, known for his role as the tyrant of Corinth during the 7th century BCE. He inherited his position from his father, Cypselus, who was Corinth's first tyrant. In Greek mythology, Periander is often referenced in tales such as the story of Arion, a musician and poet saved by dolphins after being thrown overboard by sailors at Periander's command. These legends highlight both Periander's power and Corinth's cultural significance during his reign. Despite the complexities of his rule, Zeus is able to transform into an eagle. Zeus is frequently depicted transforming into an eagle in Greek mythology. The eagle is one of Zeus's most iconic symbols and is often associated with his divine power and authority. In Greek mythological tales, Zeus sometimes assumes the form of an eagle to carry out specific actions or to interact with mortals. For example, in the myth of Ganymede, Zeus transforms into an eagle to abduct the beautiful youth Ganymede and bring him to Mount Olympus to serve as the cupbearer to the gods. Apollo mentions that Zeus has never shown his true self to a mortal before. Zeus has shown his true form to mortals on several occasions in Greek mythology. One notable example is the story of Semele, a mortal woman who became one of Zeus's lovers. When Semele became pregnant with Zeus's child, Hera, Zeus's wife, became jealous and tricked Semele into asking Zeus to reveal himself in his true divine form. Zeus reluctantly agreed, knowing that mortals could not withstand the sight of his true form without being consumed by its power. When Semele asked Zeus to reveal himself, he appeared in all his divine glory, surrounded by lightning and thunder. The sight was too much for Semele to bear, and she was consumed by Zeus's divine fire. However, Zeus rescued the unborn child, Dionysus, from Semele's womb and sewed him into his own thigh until he was ready to be born. Seraphim kills Electra, who he doesn't know is his actual mother. There is a Greek mythology story where a character is unknowingly responsible for the death of their own mother. This tragic tale is that of Oedipus, a legendary king of Thebes. In the tragic myth of Oedipus, King Laius of Thebes receives a prophecy that he will be killed by his own son. To thwart fate, he abandons his infant, Oedipus, who is then raised by the king and queen of Corinth. Unaware of his true parentage, Oedipus leaves Corinth and encounters King Laius on the road, killing him in a confrontation. Oedipus later arrives in Thebes, where he solves the riddle of the Sphinx and becomes king, marrying the widowed queen, Jocasta, who is, unbeknownst to him, his own mother. When the truth is revealed, Jocasta takes her own life, and Oedipus blinds himself in horror, fulfilling the prophecy and enduring a tragic fate born of ignorance and destiny. Hermes brings Electra's soul to the underworld. In Greek mythology, Hermes was the one who led the souls of the dead to the underworld. In this sense, he was known as Hermes Psychopompus, and with his fair golden wand he was able to lead the dead to their new home. He was also called upon by the dying to assist in their passing. Some called upon him to have painless deaths or be able to die when and where they believed they were meant to die. In a flashback scene, Seraphim's uncle, Acrisius, unsuccessfully attempted to kill him. In Greek mythology, Acrisius was the king of Argos and the father of Danae, the mother of the hero Perseus. Acrisius was also the grandfather of Perseus, the legendary founder of the Perseid dynasty. An oracle foretold that Perseus would kill his grandfather, so Acrisius banished Danae and Perseus to the island of Seriphos. Perseus later competed in an athletic contest and accidentally killed Acrisius with a discus. Perseus and Andromeda then moved away, and Perseus founded the kingdom of Mycenae. It's also stated that Acrisius had 50 sons. It is generally understood that Acrisius had only one child, Danae, and no other sons are mentioned in the traditional myths and legends. Seraphim suckled off a bear and was raised in the woods. His upbringing is similar to Atlanta. In Greek mythology, Atlanta is sometimes depicted as having been suckled by a she-bear in her infancy. According to the myth, Atlanta was abandoned by her father soon after she was born because he wanted a son, not a daughter. Left to die on a mountaintop, Atlanta was instead discovered and nursed by a she-bear. Raised in the wilderness by the bear, Atlanta grew up to become a skilled huntress and athlete. She eventually returned to human society and gained renown for her speed and prowess, participating in various adventures and challenges, including the Caledonian boar hunt and the quest for the Golden Fleece. Alexia meets her mentor, a centaur named Chiron. In Greek mythology, Chiron is a legendary figure known as the wisest and most just of all the centaurs. Unlike other centaurs, who were often depicted as wild and unruly, Chiron was revered for his wisdom, intelligence, and skill in various arts and disciplines. Chiron is perhaps best known as a mentor and tutor to many of the greatest heroes of Greek mythology, including Achilles, Jason, and Asclepius. He was known for his kindness, patience, and wisdom, and he played a significant role in shaping the destinies of the heroes he mentored. Hera is wearing the Golden Fleece. In Greek mythology, the Golden Fleece is the legendary fleece of a winged ram named Chrysomalos. It belonged to a ram sent by the gods to rescue Phrixus and Helle from being sacrificed by their stepmother. Phrixus safely reached the land of Colchis, where he sacrificed the ram to Zeus and presented its golden fleece to King Aedes as a token of gratitude. Hung in a sacred grove, the fleece was guarded by a dragon, symbolizing its great value. In the Epic of the Argonauts, Jason and his crew of heroes set out on a perilous journey to obtain the Golden Fleece. After facing numerous challenges and adventures, including encounters with mythical creatures and hostile kingdoms, Jason successfully retrieved the fleece from Colchis with the help of Medea, the sorceress daughter of King Aedes. The Golden Fleece became a symbol of power and fortune, and its acquisition by Jason is celebrated for its themes of heroism, adventure, and the pursuit of glory. Seraphim takes the sword that Heron threw away. It can cut through any material of this earth. Perseus's sword, the harp, is said to have an edge so sharp that it can cut through anything. The harp is often described as a mix between a sickle and a sword, with a unique design that includes an inside cutting edge. Hephaestus has a mechanical owl. This is a reference to Bubo from Clash of the Titans 1981. It was forged by Hephaestus and sent by Athena to aid Perseus in his quest to save the princess Andromeda. Apollo is in bed with a man and a woman. In Greek mythology, Apollo had many lovers, including both men and women. Zeus directly references Perseus and Hercules defeating Antaeus. Antaeus fought Heracles as he was on his way to the Garden of Hesperides as his 11th labor. Heracles realized that he could not beat Antaeus by throwing or pinning him. Instead, he held him aloft and then crushed him to death in a bear hug. Zeus says that he never really knew his father. He didn't raise him and wanted him dead. When Zeus finally met his father, he had to kill him to save his siblings. Zeus is referring to Kronos. In Greek mythology, Zeus and Kronos share a complex relationship defined by familial betrayal and divine succession. Kronos, one of the Titans, feared a prophecy that one of his children would overthrow him, leading him to swallow each of his offspring at birth. However, when Zeus was born, his mother Rhea tricked Kronos into swallowing a stone instead. Zeus was raised in secret until he reached maturity, at which point he challenged Kronos and the Titans in a fierce war known as the Titanomachy. Ultimately, Zeus and the Olympian gods emerged victorious, overthrowing Kronos and the Titans to establish their rule over the cosmos. Kronos was imprisoned in Tartarus, where he endured eternal punishment. This tale embodies the eternal struggle between generations and the inevitability of change in the divine hierarchy of Greek mythology, with Zeus symbolizing the new order and Kronos representing the old. The characters find a satyr guarding the entrance to the labyrinth. In Greek mythology, satyrs are mythical creatures characterized by their part human, part animal appearance, with the upper body of a human and the lower body of a horse or goat. They are renowned for their wild and hedonistic behavior, often engaging in revelry, music, dance, and lustful pursuits. Satyrs are commonly associated with the god Dionysus, participating in his rituals and celebrations, such as Bacchanalia or Dionysian festivals, where they play musical instruments and join in ecstatic dance alongside the god and his followers. Despite their mischievous and lecherous nature, satyrs are not typically portrayed as malevolent beings. Rather, they represent the untamed and primal forces of nature, serving as symbols of wilderness, fertility, and humanity's connection to the natural world. Seraphim finds Acrisius living in a cave and brutally kills him. In Greek mythology, Acrisius, king of Argos and father of Danae, met his demise due to a prophecy predicting that his grandson would kill him. Acrisius attempted to prevent this prophecy by imprisoning Danae to prevent her from bearing children, but Zeus impregnated her with Perseus. Acrisius then cast Danae and Perseus into the sea in a wooden chest, but Perseus survived and grew up to become a hero. Years later, during a sporting event, Perseus accidentally killed Acrisius with a discus, fulfilling the prophecy and resulting in Acrisius's tragic death at the hands of his own grandson. Seraphim cuts Talos in the ankle. In Greek mythology, the giant bronze automaton Talos was defeated by the hero Jason and the Argonauts during their quest for the Golden Fleece. Medea, Jason's wife and a powerful sorceress, played a crucial role in Talos' defeat by tricking him into revealing his vulnerability, a single vein or bolt of bronze running from his neck to his ankle. With this knowledge, the Argonauts exploited Talos' weakness, and Medea magically removed the bronze bolt, causing Talos to bleed out and collapse, ultimately leading to his demise and allowing the Argonauts to continue their quest. Gods of Egypt brings Egyptian mythology to life with stunning visuals and epic action. The movie introduces a range of powerful gods and goddesses, each with a unique presence. Let's break down the deities featured in the film and explore their roles in this thrilling world. Set, played by Gerard Butler, is the main antagonist of the movie. He's the god of the desert, disorder, and storms. The movie makes sure to show just how ruthless he can be. Set isn't just after power. He thrives on chaos, crushing anyone who stands in his way. In mythology, Set is a complex figure. He's known for killing his brother Osiris and battling his nephew Horus, just like in the movie. But mythology also shows him in a different light. He's not always purely evil. In some stories, he helps Ra, proving he's not just about destruction. The film takes his chaotic nature to the extreme, making him a brutal conqueror who stops at nothing. He seizes Egypt's throne by killing Osiris and blinds Horus to ensure his rule. His portrayal leans into his darker traits, turning him into a fearsome villain, but the real mythology gives him a far more complicated role. In mythology, Set is shown with an animal head, but nobody really knows what animal it is. Some think it's a mix of different creatures, while others believe it's a completely mythical beast. The movie takes a different approach by giving Set the ability to transform into a powerful, armored beast. His beast mode makes him even more dangerous, with sharp claws, dark metallic armor, and enhanced strength. It's a creative way to show his wild, untamed nature, even though mythology never describes him changing forms like that. Instead of just having an unknown animal head, the movie turns him into a full-on monster, making him an even bigger threat. Horus, played by Nikolai Coster-Waldau, is the main protagonist of the movie. As the Lord of the Air, he soars above his enemies and commands incredible speed and agility. In mythology, he's often shown with a falcon head, representing his connection to the sky and his role as a powerful warrior god. The movie takes inspiration from this by giving him the ability to transform into a winged, armored form, enhancing his speed and strength in battle. Horus is best known for his legendary rivalry with Set. This conflict is central to both the film and mythology, where Horus fights to reclaim his rightful place as king. His mythological story is one of justice and revenge, making him the perfect hero for an epic battle against Set's rule. Hathor, played by Elodie Yung, is the goddess of love. She's charming, graceful, and has a deep connection to both mortals and gods. In mythology, Hathor isn't just the goddess of love. She also represents beauty, music, joy, and motherhood. The movie highlights her mystical side by giving her the power to influence others with her charm. She has a complicated relationship with Horus, adding an emotional layer to the story. While the film focuses on her as a romantic figure, mythology paints her as a powerful and nurturing goddess, often associated with protection and celebration. Thoth, played by Chadwick Boseman, is the god of wisdom. He's intelligent, analytical, and always seeking knowledge. In mythology, he's the scribe of the gods, the inventor of writing, and the one who maintains balance in the universe. The movie portrays him as a brilliant but eccentric figure, constantly surrounded by his own copies to help him think. He plays a key role in solving important riddles and guiding the other gods with his vast knowledge. While the film leans into his wisdom, mythology also connects him to magic, the moon, and even judgment in the afterlife, making him one of the most important deities in Egyptian lore. Ra, played by Geoffrey Rush, is one of the most important deities in Egyptian mythology. He's the god of the sun, bringing light and life to the world. In mythology, Ra sails across the sky during the day and battles the chaos serpent Apophis at night to ensure the sun rises again. The movie shows him as a powerful, ancient god who watches over the world from his solar barge in space. He wields immense cosmic energy, keeping the forces of darkness at bay. While the film takes a more sci-fi approach, the idea of Ra as a protector who fights off chaos stays true to his mythological role. Anubis, played via motion capture by Goran D. Klut, is one of the most important deities in Egyptian mythology. He has the head of a jackal and serves as the guide of souls in the afterlife, ensuring they reach their final judgment. In the movie, Anubis appears as a guardian of the underworld, overseeing the journey of the dead. He helps mortals like Zaya navigate the afterlife, emphasizing his role as a protector of souls. While he doesn't have a major role in the action, his presence highlights the importance of the afterlife in Egyptian beliefs. The film stays true to his mythological role, portraying him as a solemn and mysterious figure who maintains balance between life and death. Nephthys, played by Emma Booth, is the goddess of protection. In mythology, she's known for her nurturing and protective qualities, often acting as a guardian to the dead and aiding her brother Osiris. Interestingly, she was also married to Set, making her role in the movie even more complex given Set's villainous nature. In the film, Nephthys is shown with wings, which symbolizes her ability to protect and shield others. While her relationship with Set isn't deeply explored in the movie, it stays true to mythology, where she's often caught between her loyalty to her family and her marriage to Set. Despite her connection to Set, Nephthys remains a powerful and compassionate figure, helping Horus and others on their journey. The movie captures her protective role while nodding to her complicated ties within the divine family. Osiris, played by Brian Brown, is the god of the afterlife. In mythology, Osiris is known for being the ruler of the underworld, overseeing the souls of the dead and judging them in the afterlife. His story is one of tragedy and betrayal, which is faithfully portrayed in the movie. In the film, Set's murder of Osiris is a key turning point, setting the stage for Horus's quest for revenge and justice. This aligns with mythology, where Set's jealousy and thirst for power lead him to kill Osiris and take his throne. Osiris's death is a tragic moment that drives the conflict in both the movie and the mythology. Isis, played by Rachel Blake, is the wife and sister of Osiris. In mythology, she's one of the most powerful and compassionate goddesses, known for her wisdom, magic, and devotion to her family. After Osiris is killed by Set, Isis plays a crucial role in bringing him back to life, using her magical powers to restore him temporarily so they can conceive Horus. Apophis, also known as Apep, is the ancient Egyptian deity who embodies darkness and disorder, making him the ultimate opponent of Light and Mot, the goddess of truth and order. In mythology, he's often depicted as a giant snake or serpent. In the movie, he's reimagined as a massive, cloud-like demon, which is a creative take on his mythological form. Instead of being a serpent, the film transforms him into a swirling, chaotic force that represents pure destruction. While this change is a departure from the traditional depiction, it still captures his role as a cosmic villain, threatening balance and order in the world, much like his mythological counterpart does in the endless battle against Ra. Astarte and Anat, played by Yaya Deng and Abby Lee, are two powerful goddesses. Astarte is known as a goddess of war, love, and fertility, while Anat is often depicted as a fierce warrior goddess. They play important supporting roles. In the film, Set sends them to kill Horus and stop him from reclaiming the throne. Despite their strength and skills, they fail in their mission to defeat Horus. As seen, Gods of Egypt does an incredible job of bringing the vibrant world of Egyptian mythology to life with action, adventure, and breathtaking visuals. While the film takes some creative liberties with the gods and their stories, it's still exciting to see these ancient legends reimagined on screen. It's a shame the movie never got a sequel, as it would have been fascinating to see which other deities could have been introduced and how they would have been portrayed. If this deep dive into the movie's portrayal of these deities was enjoyable, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more mythology content like this. Thanks for watching, and catch you in the next video. Gerard Butler is one of Hollywood's most underrated actors. His movies might not always rake in big numbers or get the best reviews, but his performances are always fun and full of energy. Usually, Butler plays the tough hero who works hard to save the day. He's got that commanding presence and rough charm down to a science. But Gods of Egypt gave us something different. Butler played the villainous Set, a power-hungry god who takes no prisoners. It was a total change from his usual hero roles, and it was awesome to watch. Butler brought so much energy to the role, mixing menace with charm, making Set both scary and strangely magnetic. Seeing Butler as a villain was a reminder of how versatile he really is. This performance left fans wanting more. Hollywood should definitely take note. Butler has what it takes to be a great villain, and it's a side of him that needs more screen time. Let's take a look at what makes Set such a great villain and why Butler should take on more roles like this. Commanding presence. Butler's powerful voice and intense screen presence make him a natural fit for roles that demand authority and intimidation. As Set, he dominates every scene he's in, embodying a larger-than-life antagonist. Charismatic evil. Butler brings a charm to his villainous roles that makes them compelling to watch. In Gods of Egypt, Set isn't just a generic bad guy. Butler makes him magnetic, drawing the audience in despite his actions. Layered performance. Even in a fantastical film like Gods of Egypt, Butler gives Set emotional depth. His motivations, rooted in jealousy and a desire for power, are relatable enough to make the character feel grounded and human. Unapologetic energy, Butler fully leans into the over-the-top nature of the role. He embraces the character's flamboyant, godlike ambition, making Set both entertaining and unforgettable. Scene stealer. Despite a star-studded cast, Butler's performance, as Set, often steals the spotlight. His ability to dominate the screen is a key reason the character remains memorable. Why Butler should play more villains. Versatility. Butler has spent much of his career as the rugged hero, but Gods of Egypt shows that he's equally effective, and perhaps even more engaging, when he taps into his darker side. Natural intensity. His intense expressions and physicality make him a believable threat, whether he's wielding a weapon or delivering a cutting line. Balance of humor and menace. Butler has a knack for blending wit with menace, which is a hallmark of great villains. He can deliver a line that's both funny and intimidating, keeping audiences on edge. Memorable antagonists are rare. Hollywood often struggles to create villains who stand out. Butler has the charisma and acting chops to elevate any villain role into something iconic. Unpredictability. As a hero, audiences generally know what to expect from Butler. As a villain, he's unpredictable, keeping viewers guessing about what he'll do next. Classic villain archetype. With his rugged looks and commanding voice, Butler fits the mold of the charismatic villains seen in classic films, like those played by Alan Rickman or Anthony Hopkins. Room for growth. Villains often have more complex character arcs and backstories than heroes, giving Butler the opportunity to show off his range. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is more than just a trading card game and anime series. It's packed with influences from ancient Egyptian mythology. Many of the characters and themes are inspired by ancient Egyptian legends. In this video, we're going to explore how these ancient Egyptian myths shaped the Yu-Gi-Oh! Universe. We'll take a look at the connection between the series' most iconic elements and the real-world legends they're based on. The name Sito is a reference to Set, the Egyptian god of chaos, destruction, and storms. In Japanese, the name Set is often pronounced as Sito. This reflects his competitive, sometimes ruthless nature. While Sito isn't directly evil like Set, the reference to this god highlights his role as a major rival and his ambitious, often confrontational personality in the series. Exodia is inspired by the Egyptian god Osiris. In mythology, Osiris was killed by his jealous brother Set, who tore his body into pieces and scattered them. Osiris's wife, Isis, embarked on a quest to find all the parts and, with her magic, brought him back to life. Similarly, Exodia in the game is made up of 5 pieces: the head, 2 arms, and 2 legs. Collecting all of Exodia's pieces automatically wins the duel, mirroring how Osiris's body was reassembled to restore his power. This connection ties Exodia's immense power and the concept of reuniting body parts to the myth of Osiris's resurrection. The Egyptian god cards are heavily influenced by Egyptian mythology, with each one drawing inspiration from powerful deities. Slifer the Sky Dragon is based on Osiris, the god of the afterlife and resurrection, which is why its original Japanese name is Osiris. The English name Slifer comes from an inside joke among the localization team, who named it after Roger Slifer, a producer of the English-language adaptation of the anime. Because of this, Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged humorously refers to it as Slifer the executive producer. Obelisk the Tormentor is inspired by Egyptian obelisks, which were linked to the sun god Ra and symbolize strength and stability. The winged dragon of Ra directly represents Ra, the supreme sun god, embodying his immense power, transformation, and divine authority. Together, these cards mirror the gods' roles in mythology, representing creation, destruction, and rebirth, just as the deities did in ancient Egyptian beliefs. Holakti, the creator of light, is based on Ra-Horikti, a powerful fusion of the sun god Ra and the sky god Horus. In mythology, Ra-Horikti represents the rising sun and the cycle of renewal, symbolizing ultimate divine power and cosmic balance. Holakti reflects this by being the most powerful divine card, capable of instantly winning the duel when summoned. This mirrors Ra-Horikti's role as a supreme deity, overseeing creation, light, and order in Egyptian mythology. Maat is named after the Egyptian goddess of truth, justice, and cosmic balance. In mythology, Maat represented order and harmony, ensuring the universe functioned properly. She played a key role in the weighing of the heart ceremony, where a soul's heart was measured against her feather to determine its fate in the afterlife. The card reflects her themes of balance and fairness, embodying the principles she upheld in Egyptian mythology. Anubis is the main antagonist in the Pyramid of Light movie. Anubis is the Egyptian god of mummification, the afterlife, and protecting graves. He's usually depicted as a man with the head of a jackal, an animal linked to cemeteries. Anubis guided souls to the afterlife and oversaw the weighing of the heart ceremony, where a person's soul was judged against the feather of Maat to decide their fate. He was a guardian of the dead, making sure burial rites were done properly and protecting tombs from desecration. Though connected to death, Anubis wasn't evil. However, in the movie, he's much more evil, seeking to use dark magic and control over the Pyramid of Light to gain power. There are also some Anubis cards such as Curse of Anubis, Judgment of Anubis, and the End of Anubis. Anubis uses Sphinx monsters. In Egyptian mythology, sphinxes were often depicted as creatures with the body of a lion and the head of a human, symbolizing strength, wisdom, and mystery. They were considered guardians, protecting sacred places such as tombs and temples. The most famous sphinx, the Great Sphinx of Giza, is believed to represent the pharaoh Khafre, linking the creature to royal power and the divine. Sphinxes were also associated with the sun and often represented a blend of human intellect and animal strength, embodying the balance between wisdom and physical power. Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys is inspired by both the Egyptian goddess Nephthys and the mythical phoenix found in Egyptian mythology. In ancient Egypt, the phoenix, often referred to as the Bennu, was a symbol of rebirth, renewal, and the sun. It was said to rise from its own ashes, much like the sacred Phoenix of Nephthys, which symbolizes resurrection and the endless cycle of life and death. Nephthys, the goddess of protection and mourning, is often linked to funerary rites and guarding the dead. The phoenix in Egyptian myth and the sacred Phoenix of Nephthys both reflect themes of transformation and the power of rebirth, tying the card to these ancient symbols of life after death. Horus, the black flame dragon, is a reference to the Egyptian god Horus. In mythology, Horus is one of the most important deities, often shown as a falcon or a man with a falcon's head. He's the god of the sky, war, and kingship, representing strength and protection. Horus, the black flame dragon, reflects these themes of power and dominance, evolving and growing stronger with each level, just like Horus did as a protector and a symbol of authority. Embodiment of Apophis is a reference to Apep, or Apophis, the Egyptian god of darkness and disorder. In mythology, Apophis is a giant serpent who embodies chaos, constantly battling the sun god Ra in an attempt to disrupt the cosmic order. Each night, he tries to swallow the sun, plunging the world into darkness. Mystical beast of Serket is based on Serket, the Egyptian goddess of protection, healing, and scorpions. In mythology, Serket was believed to guard against venomous stings and help souls in the afterlife, often depicted with a scorpion on her head. The card's design as a monstrous scorpion reflects her connection to these creatures, while its effect of destroying enemies and granting power fits with her role as both a protector and a force of retribution. Mystical beast of Serket takes inspiration from Serket's dual nature, embodying both danger and divine protection. Sebek's blessing is based on Sobek, the Egyptian god of water, fertility, and protection. Sobek was often depicted as a man with the head of a crocodile, symbolizing strength and power. He was both feared and revered, known for his ferocity but also for his role in protecting the innocent and bringing prosperity. The card's name reflects his association with blessings, as Sobek was believed to grant protection and ensure abundance, especially in connection to the Nile River, which was vital for life in ancient Egypt. The name Sebek is an alternate transliteration of Sobek, following older or less common spelling conventions. In ancient Egyptian, vowels weren't typically written, so different transliterations emerged over time based on how scholars interpreted the name. Sebek was one such variation used in older texts and some Egyptological studies. Yomi ship is a reference to how ships in the afterlife were believed to transport the souls of the dead in Egyptian mythology. Yomi ship fits this theme with its effect, which destroys the monster that destroys it, much like how the journey through the underworld involves facing challenges and consequences. Additionally, Yomi means underworld in Japanese, further tying the card's name to its role as a vessel, navigating the dark and dangerous realms, symbolizing the inevitable fate of those who enter the afterlife. And there you have it. That's how Egyptian mythology influenced Yu-Gi-Oh! We've only scratched the surface, though. There's so much more to explore. Other mythologies have also played a big role in shaping Yu-Gi-Oh! too. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more mythology content. Red 1 puts its own spin on Santa's story, but how does it compare to mythology? This video explores the traditions and myths to uncover what's true and what's Hollywood fantasy. Santa meeting children at the mall isn't part of Christmas mythology, but a modern cultural tradition. By making Santa a friendly, approachable figure, it brought the legend into everyday life. Santa's story draws from many sources. One of his key inspirations is Saint Nicholas, a 4th century bishop, known for secretly giving gifts and helping the poor. Over time, his legend grew, making him a symbol of generosity. Elements of Santa also come from Norse mythology, where the god Odin, a wise and bearded figure, rode through the sky on his 8-legged horse Sleipnir during the Yule festival, delivering blessings. Children would leave out food, much like leaving milk and cookies for Santa today. Father Christmas in England represented joy and festivity during winter, while Sinterklaas in the Netherlands brought gifts to children on December 5th. Dutch settlers introduced Sinterklaas to America, where the name evolved into Santa Claus. The modern image of Santa as a jolly man in a red suit was popularized in the 20th century, thanks in part to Coca-Cola advertisements. Santa is protected by a security team led by Callum Drift, but this is purely a modern movie twist. In mythology, Santa doesn't have a security team. Santa claims to love snickerdoodle cookies, but Christmas mythology doesn't mention a favorite type of cookie. Santa's reindeer are female and unnamed. In mythology, they're male and have names. This naming tradition originates from Clement Clarke Moore's 1823 poem A Visit from St. Nicholas, which introduced Blitzen, Comet, Cupid, Dasher, Dancer, Donner, Prancer, and Vixen. Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer, was added later in 1939 through a story by Robert L. May for Montgomery Ward. While the movie depicts the reindeer as larger than normal, Christmas lore doesn't specify their size, leaving it to interpretation. They're often imagined as either ordinary reindeer or larger-than-life creatures fit for their magical duties. The choice to make the reindeer female in the movie aligns with the fact that female reindeer keep their antlers through winter, while males shed theirs in late fall. Callum gives pretzels to the reindeer, but mythology makes no mention of their diet, let alone pretzels, adding another modern touch to the story. Santa's code name Red 1 isn't part of Christmas mythology. He's been known by several names, but Red 1 is a modern creation specifically for the movie, and not part of the original legend. In mythology, Santa's reindeer aren't described as flying at supersonic speeds. However, they're often portrayed as magical creatures with the ability to fly, which allows them to travel around the world in a single night to deliver presents to all the children. The North Pole is concealed inside a massive camouflage dome, but this isn't part of mythology. Santa is often depicted as having the ability to magically appear at the North Pole by using some form of supernatural transportation. Christmas elves are small, humanoid beings dressed in red or green with pointy ears and hats. They're known for being playful and hardworking in Santa's workshop. In the movie, however, the elves are reimagined as fantasy creatures, stepping away from the classic appearance. This creative twist gives them a more magical and diverse look, adding a unique touch to their role in Christmas lore. Elves have their origins in Norse mythology, where they were known as supernatural beings connected to nature, magic, and fertility. There were light elves, seen as benevolent and beautiful, and dark elves, often portrayed as mischievous or malevolent. The idea of Christmas elves appeared in literature in 1850, when Louisa May Alcott wrote an unpublished book called Christmas Elves. The image of elves working in Santa's workshop became widely popular after Godey's Lady's book featured an illustration in its 1873 Christmas issue. Over time, these mythological elves evolved into the small, helpful creatures we know today, with their connection to nature and magic replaced by a whimsical, more simplified role in modern Christmas traditions. Mrs. Claus is a more recent addition to mythology. Although she's now a well-known figure, she doesn't have deep roots in ancient folklore. The first known mention of Mrs. Claus was in an 1849 short story called A Christmas Legend by James Rees, where she was portrayed as a supportive figure for Santa. Her role became more widely recognized through literature and illustrations. In mythology, Santa doesn't lift weights or engage in physical training. He's usually seen as a jolly, stout figure known for his generosity, not for physical strength. The naughty list is part of mythology, with children who misbehave during the year said to end up on it, receiving nothing or a lump of coal instead of presents. This concept became widely known through the song Santa Claus is Coming to Town, and has since been expanded in folklore, often used to teach moral lessons about good behavior. In the movie, grown-ups can also be placed on the naughty list. In traditional mythology, the naughty list is primarily linked to children, who are judged based on their behavior throughout the year. Callum mentions that Santa burns 430 million calories every Christmas Eve. However, in mythology, there's no mention of how many calories Santa burns during his journey. Santa's magical abilities allow him to complete his task without worrying about burning calories. Zoe, referring to Santa as Saint Nicholas of Myra, is both accurate and deeply rooted in history and legend. Santa is based on Saint Nicholas from Myra, which is now part of modern-day Turkey. So, in this movie, Santa is Saint Nicholas. Jack is a level 4 naughty lister. In mythology, particularly the version centered around Santa, the naughty list doesn't have clearly defined levels. It's a binary concept. Children are either on the naughty list for bad behavior or on the nice list for good behavior. Santa is kidnapped by Gryla and she plans to steal his energy. In mythology, Santa isn't kidnapped by Gryla. The two characters come from different mythological traditions and have distinct roles. Callum mentions that Santa has to deliver the presents himself. In mythology, Santa is indeed the primary figure responsible for delivering presents, but he often receives help from his magical reindeer and elves, making it a team effort rather than something he does entirely alone. The naughty list is in digital form rather than an actual list. In mythology, the naughty list is more of an abstract concept, relying on Santa's magical knowledge of children's behavior throughout the year. Krampus isn't Santa's adopted brother in mythology. Krampus is a separate figure, often depicted as a fearsome creature who punishes naughty children during the holiday season. While Santa rewards good children with gifts, Krampus is known for frightening and sometimes even capturing those who misbehave. Callum mentioning that Santa hates macaroons is a fun addition to the movie, but it isn't part of mythology. There's no specific mention of Santa's preferences or dislikes regarding particular foods like macaroons. There's a funny moment at the end when Santa takes a coconut macaroon, but then puts it back without eating it. Santa's ability to deliver presents using reality-altering technology, like Callum's, isn't part of mythology. Instead, Santa's feats are explained through magic, time manipulation, and the help of his supernatural assistants. One of the most common explanations is that Santa has the ability to slow down or even stop time on Christmas Eve. This lets him visit millions of homes in a single night, despite the vast distances he must travel. Additionally, Santa's sack of presents is enchanted, capable of holding an endless supply of gifts. This magical sack helps Santa deliver presents to children all over the world, sometimes even allowing him to quickly find the right gift for each child. And that wraps up the comparison. What are your thoughts on the movie? Feel free to share in the comments. Red One is an entertaining and fun film, packed with action and humor. The performances are excellent, and the way it incorporates mythical elements is both fresh and engaging. It's a great choice for anyone looking for something exciting and different during the holidays. This movie is highly recommended for people who enjoy a blend of action, comedy, and Christmas magic. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe for more content about mythology. See you in the next one.